Everybody, Flying Fox Fruits here today. This is a video about how I got introduced to, or how I found out about the Pitangatuba, or what I call the Starcherry. It is a wonderful little fruit from Brazil. Comes from an area called the Restingas, I believe. You know, kind of like a coastal area where I've heard they can take a little bit of salt spray, and I've never tested that, but I believe it by seeing what they handle out here. They can take a little flooding, not too much, likes good drainage. I first came across this little fruit reading a book called Brazilian Fruits and Cultivated Exotics by Harry Lorenzi. I saw it in the picture and I was captivated by how it looked. It looked like a star fruit or like a Suriname cherry, but it was yellow and it was big. They get bigger than this, 3 or 4 times this size. This one's not really big. And I'm shaking it right now. I don't know if you can hear that, but the seed, I feel it rattling around in there. The seed's rattling around in there. I just picked it off of this little bush here. And come take a look at this. Some fruit on it right now, some dead branches. This is planted in a location that's a little too wet for them, but it handles it. And we get really hot here. It handles that too. This is an elongated type that I got. And easy to grow in a pot. They'll fruit in a pot for many years. It's really a shrub and not quite a tree. The flavor is acid, sweet, but probably more acid than anything. Some people aren't gonna wanna eat them out of hand, but I like eating them out of hand. They do have a little latex inside the fruit, so if you're going and chewing on them and putting your teeth on it, it can stick to your teeth and kind of leave a nice green coating if you've eaten a bunch of them. I started to track down this tree when I first heard about it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I did end up eventually finding it on Fruit Lovers Nursery, his website, fruitlovers.com, Oscar Jade. He sent me some seeds that I requested. I guess he got them from Brazil because he wasn't fruiting them. And he sold me some seeds and I planted them and they fruited in about 3 years. I was so happy he found the seeds. I was looking everywhere for them and couldn't find them. And at the time it was named Eugenia neonitida. Now it's Eugenia selloi. That's S-E-L-L-O-I. Before it was neonitida, N-E-O-N-I-T-I-D-A. And so happy to get those seeds when he sent them to me. And I planted them out. They fruited in like 3 years. Oh, you know what? I got a plant before he sent me the seeds. The first plant I ever got was from Chris Rollins at Fruit and Spice Park. I went there for a grafting course to learn how to graft. I drove like 4 hours there, 4 hours back. And I asked him after the course, I said, do you have Eugenia neonitida? And he said, oh yeah, I got that. We got one in the back in a pot. And I said, you do? I said, I can't believe you've had it here all these years. They had it growing in the nursery at the Fruit and Spice Park, and it was a big tree in a pot. It looked like it was 20 years old at least. Trunk on it like that, you know, 8 feet wide by 6 feet tall. Not a lot of fruit on it. And he did have a little seedling that he gave me that I grew, and I remember that seedling taking a long time to finally fruit. You know, it flowered. It was about that big when I got it. It was probably already 1.5 years, 2 years old. It flowered about 2 or 3 years later after I got it, and it would flower and flower and not set a lot of fruit. So I came to realize that there was a bunch of people who had imported the Eugenia selloi years ago. And the first people to import them must have got some stock that wasn't as productive and as good. Because I went and started buying up plants throughout the state that I could find from old nurseries that may have had them. I found one nursery called Southeast Growers. I think they're out of business now. They had this giant shade house. Well, they had bought a bunch of plants from Hopkins Nursery when they moved. And they bought out all the Pitangatubas that Hopkins had. Hopkins, I don't believe ever had much success with them because they had the older varieties that were just not as productive, didn't make as good a fruit. Well, I ended up buying up a bunch of trees from Southeast Growers that were big. These things were big. I mean, they were up to here, and they never really set a bunch of fruit. And the ones that did fruit made bitter tasting fruits, it tasted like. Some of them were good, some of them were bitter, and some of them just got to be 7 feet tall and they'd flower, never set a darn fruit. So I've noticed with this species, some of them come from lines that are very much better than others. And the ones that I got from Oscar, which were recently imported from Brazil, came from superior bloodlines in my opinion. So I was very thankful to get those seeds from Oscar Jade, fruitloversnursery.com. Then I also started to collect them from anybody I could, all over the state, all the collectors I could find. I started to ask them for their seeds. So out here on the farm, I've got about 35 mother trees that were from all different sources I could find, from Brazil, all over the United States. They all come from Brazil, but I was getting them out of Brazil, out of the United States, from any place I could, gathering up as many trees as I could. I'm gonna walk you through right now and show you some of them. This again is the elongated type, which is kind of good. I really like this because it's really productive. It makes a lot of fruit. But I wouldn't say it's the best tasting out of all the ones I have. It has a wonderful flavor, but there's some that, oh, wonderful. Come over this way. Now one of these, I think it's this one or that one, makes a giant fruit. And the fruit is not long, it's squat. It's big like this and round. So we'll see when it fruits again. I have a couple of them that make really big fruits. And they're not long. These are them planted out right here. This time of year they look kind of beat up. A little wet here. This one right here makes a fruit. It tastes like white grape juice in my opinion. It's got like a white grape flavor. And the fruits are small and like globe shaped. They're not elongated. And I need to pull the weeds on these. We get a little issue here with these lichens. They don't like these. Don't let these grow on your tree if you can avoid it. It's not gonna kill them. Another tree right here. Another tree right here. You see a lot of these look a little junky because they're out here in the full sun. It's a little wet. This is a little grafted tree I planted there. It's fruited before. It's fruited. This is another little grafted tree I put out right there. A little grafted one there. Look at that. It's fruited. I put little grafted ones all over. Another little grafted one. Now I noticed when I plant them together in groups and patches, they do a lot better. Look how much better this tree's doing. And it's not just one tree. This is a grouping of, it looks like 6 trees or more, all there in the hole. Maybe, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so, all together there. And look how nice they do. So if you have a wet area, my advice, if you're gonna have to plant in somewhere where the water table is high, got a high water table, maybe plant them in groups or plant them up on the roots of another tree to help them wick up some of that excess water. Look over here. Another little cluster of them all planted together, and look how nice they're doing. I'm about to show you my best tree over here by the chicken coop. This is one of my best trees. Look how good this thing's doing. This is one of my favorite trees. I think first off, part of the reason it tastes so good is it's getting really good cultural care. This is one of the best tasting trees. It tastes like a pineapple to me. It's super delicious. Flowering right now, look at the flowers. This is already fruited like crazy. The rats like to eat it. The chickens like to eat it. It sets a bunch of fruit. So some of them are gonna be more productive than others. Typically, all of them do pretty well, but you do get unlucky. I've noticed if you plant 50 seeds, there's gonna be 1 or 2 that flower and flower and flower, and for some reason just don't set fruit. I think it has to do with pollen tube growth and self-incompatibility. A lot of times some of these flowers just can't get the job done. And it doesn't matter, even if you get another tree to cross-pollinate it, doesn't matter. I think it's either because the tree's self-pollinating as soon as it opens, and it just has trouble receiving the pollen and getting the male information or the material into that ovary. Here's another patch of them. Look, this is like 20 of them all planted together in a corner. Look at all of them down there. That's all like 20 different trees, okay? And this one does really well. See, look at that, flowers, deep green. So if you got a wet spot, maybe better to plant it. Sorry, man, yeah, here, a bit bucket there. Maybe better to plant it in groups, or better to put it closer to other trees with a little protection. We'll show you a couple more trees out here and we'll end the video. But I think this fruit is fantastic. It represents a wonderful opportunity to compete with citrus, passion fruit. You can fruit it in a pot It can take a freeze down to about 25 degrees without totally dying, at least in Florida. This is one that I call lemon head. Look at the leaf, how small it is. And look, it's doing pretty well out here. Lemon head.
Some flowers.
Flowers, yeah, there's flowers on it. This one makes a fruit that stays yellow. It doesn't really turn orange, and it doesn't have the ridges too much. The ridges are very recessed. And to me, it tastes like a lemon head candy. And then there's a couple more. We don't really have to show them. I just wanted to tell you about this fruit and how special it is. I've got a video that we made a long time ago when I first started importing seeds with Jared Rydelek, the weird fruit explorer. If you type in Pitangatuba, it should come up. You'll see me when I had my beehive hair. So if you like passion fruit and you don't mind a fruit that has a kick, show those chickens. Let's get the distraction here. Look at that. Well, let's see what happens. Watch this. That's the Pitangatuba they're after. Boom. Pitangatuba football, man. Let's see how this goes down. That's going out of the camera. Let's see how they took it away. It's a little sour. Look at it. That's kind of funny. You're running pretty slow with it, right? Mm-hmm. Look at that. Ah, into the
Probably
bushes.
likes the taste of it or something. Slowing them down.
Anyway, y'all, we're gonna go try to retrieve that seed. I really recommend growing Pitangatuba. Even the chickens like it. Take care, y'all.